Worry about it. Oh, go right ahead.
Thank you. So I'm going to apologize in advance in case I mispronounce some names. So I've worked on this, but you're going to be chuckling in a little while because it's going to seem like maybe I didn't work on this, but I really did. So first student athlete, Coda Herring. Not, okay. Nathan Brunel.
Take a picture too. That's okay.
That's all right.
Get the picture right here.
They can shake hands.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, when I finish announcing the student athletes who are here this evening, we'd like to take a picture with all of them. Try to fit everybody on the stage. Our next student athlete is Mohammed Dieng.
It's okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's what it should be.
Don't have it come in front, have it go behind. Ask them to go behind this way. Yeah, up this way.
Okay. Next, we have Mohammed Tambadou. Not here. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Okay. We'll just give him to Phil here. Amadou Joao.
This
So when
way.
you guys just come around this way, behind them, and walk up the stage this way.
Congratulations, great to see you.
Nice job, nice job.
Congratulations.
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 Jaden Pedro. Nope. Nope. Saliu Mbake. Marcus Deleuze.
I know.
Musa Jah.
Well done, well done. Nice job.
Congratulations.
Probably a forward.
Eduardo Neves dos Santos. Wood Bentley Paul. No, okay. Yesé Perez. No. Dylan Boisvert. Leonardo Rivera. Noah Boisvert. Nathan Seprarathoth.
Congratulations.
Thomas Cugini.
Congratulations.
Mateus Borges de Silva. Philippe Carvalho Boucher.
Congratulations.
Fabio Quirino Vicente. Brian Nunez Sobral. Logan Duguay. Alexis Franco. Jason Rodriguez.
Congratulations.
Fabian Acosta.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Keep trying to tell them.
Kobe Kamavangsa. Nicholas Smith.
Well done. Nice job, Nick.
Get the shake, too. Congratulations.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
We'll pull you in. Yep.
Jason Sanchez. João Alves de Paula.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Can go mic drop at the end?
Ibrima Sane. Anderson Archila Lopez. Jesus Netro. I'll admit it. João Victor dos Reis.
Congratulations.
Limamu Mbengwe. Brian Gomes Daniele. Arthur Sobrera de Sousa. Andres Ponce Castillo. Marcus Bradley. I'm going to go with them. So any successful sports program, regardless of the community, but especially here in Woonsocket, has an equipment manager. And we're very fortunate here in Woonsocket. You know, many of us and many student athletes who are here and other student athletes in the community have been very fortunate to have this gentleman and his wife. I'm going to start with this gentleman, our equipment manager, Pete Antonui. Pete, come on up. Assistant Equipment Manager, Joanne Antonu. Last but certainly not least, every successful team has inspiring and successful coaches. And here at the high school, we're very fortunate to have these two gentlemen coaching our Woonsocket High School boys soccer team. Assistant coach Drew Dyko.
Thank you.
And let's give this next gentleman a loud round of applause. Head coach Phil Torres.
Great job. Great job this year. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
So again, I want to congratulate our boys soccer team, their coaches, for a wonderful, wonderful season. Congratulations.
On the mend.
Yeah. I see you still wearing a patch on.
Yeah, it kind of helps.
I should do the calendar so we can wrap this up.
What's that?
You got a calendar, right? Oh, not the calendar. Recess.
Oh, yes,
Let's do that.
Yes. So before we take a brief recess, I just want to finally wish everyone a very happy holiday. This Friday is our last day of school. Students and staff will be returning from our holiday break on Tuesday, January 2nd. So again, I want to wish everyone in the Woonsocket Education Department a very happy, healthy, restful, and safe holiday break. Thank you very much, everyone. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my recognitions and announcements this evening.
Thank you, Dr. McGee. I'll make a motion, receive, and place on file the recognitions and announcements. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to go into a 10-minute recess at 7:40. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify
Aye.
by saying aye.
Aye.
Let's go visit Chef Paul. I'll make a motion to come out of recess at 7:55 PM. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote. Because we do it for a
Stay
10.
in recess.
No. Next, we'll go into the approval minutes. And I'll make a motion to approve the November 15 closed meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa and Mr. Leclerc. Any changes to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to approve the November 15, 2023 open meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Any corrections, deletions to those minutes? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Does anyone want to take anything out of order or discuss any items in the consent agenda? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll ask our student representative, Matthew Cuson, to give us his report.
Thank you, Chairman. While there has been quite a lot that's taken place since the last meeting, I wanted to focus this report solely on our Bryant University field trip, which took place on November 28th, because I saw it as being a very great opportunity for us. Why, you may ask? Other than the free food, this trip provided resources and knowledge to us students in multiple fields, including college, personal finance, investing, and entrepreneurship. We had info sessions on budgeting from Bank of America, entrepreneurship from the founder of Rogue Venture Partners, investing from Fidelity Investments, and a college tour and info session from Bryant University, which are all local companies. This valuable opportunity was possible primarily due to Miriam Kaba, a senior at Woonsocket High. Funds were allocated from the Transform Rhode Island Scholarship, which she won a couple of years ago, towards this project to make it a reality for us, which is commendable on her part, to say the least. My key takeaways from this trip is that it left me and my peers more knowledgeable on topics and resources that many of us had very limited prior knowledge of. For example, me and my peers did not know what a venture capitalist was, never mind that there was one local and accessible to us. Yet after just a short period of this trip, we left knowing that if we ever wanted to start a business and we needed help doing so, we had a local contact to possibly help us in that process. And this is just one example of what we learned. Field trips like these, where we build a network on valuable topics and especially local resources, are extremely beneficial to us and help our chances of success post-graduation. While I recognize that there are regular opportunities in the high school for students to go on field trips and have similar experiences to this one, I also recognize that those trips are almost always through specific organization, which the vast majority of students are not part of. With that being said, moving forward, I believe this trip, or a very similar one, where students learn about important topics and local resources, should be seen as essential in our learning and our preparation for post-graduation, and therefore prioritized and funded accordingly as an opportunity for all students, especially for soon-to-graduate upperclassmen to attend. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
It seems like the kinds of topics that you addressed at this Bryant University field trip were very informative to the students who attended.
Yes.
It seems to me that this is the kind of thing, Dr. McGee, that should be maybe discussed at the high school to expand the program. Because if our leaders really enjoyed it, and I'm sure there are many, many more students that would take advantage of this opportunity. So that's a great report, Matthew. Thank you.
Very good.
Any other comments or questions for our representative? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the student representative's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll have your report, Dr. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have the personnel matters update that I will present to the committee. As the committee is aware, all year, the district has been, fast at work to fill as many of our open teaching positions, paraprofessional positions, administrative positions, and custodial positions. To date, we have a total of 18 teaching positions across the district. The vast majority of those are at the high school and are in special education that we have still yet to fill. We have 13 paraprofessional positions across the district. We have 2 administrative positions and 2 custodial positions that are still open. And I mean, we just hired a high school teacher today. So the numbers are still high, but we're continuing to work hard to try to fill as many of those vacant positions as possible. You also have the staffing changes on your Chromebook, excuse me, in which you can see we've added a grade 4, a grade 5, 2 grade 4 positions, a grade 5, and an intermediate self-contained teacher at Globe Park. So again, I can't reiterate it enough. We're working hard each day and each week to try to fill as many of these positions as we possibly can. That concludes my superintendent's report.
Any comments, questions for Dr. McGee? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll go into the school subcommittee reports. We'll begin with health and wellness. Mrs. Costa?
I'm doing the health and wellness too.
We're doing
Doctor-
technology.
Done.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
I'm doing technology. He's doing.
Vice Chair
health and-
Burke?
I'm
Yep.
doing health and wellness, yeah. Just told you. The Health and Wellness Committee, Subcommittee met on November 20th at 4 o'clock in the Hamlet School here. We approved our minutes from September 25th. And then we had presentations by several of same providers. First of all, Sodexo explained to us their backpack program that occurs in our district. You know, I've always said that Sodexo is a company that has a soul, because not only do they provide breakfast and lunch like they're supposed to, but they also go above and beyond, and they try to help so many of us families and students in need. And one way they do this is with a weekend backpack program. Right now, Sodexo is giving out 80 weekend backpacks to our students. Sadly, 60 of those are right at Harris School. So obviously, there's a great need, and it really says something about the company that, and the individuals that work at it, Ashley Plant, our director, for what they do for our students. So I really appreciate their work in that sense. We also heard an update from Karen Weatherall, who is the co-director of the Rhode Island Healthy School Coalition. There's many things going on with that group, and we are lucky that she has always provided us with support and encouragement and leadership. She talked about the recent breakfast that many of us attended. She talked about their need to try and pressure the General Assembly to pass No Kid Hungry program. Obviously, Woonsocket, we are one of the few schools in the state that provide free lunch to our students. And obviously, there's a movement to try and get the General Assembly to provide that for everybody in Rhode Island. And they're working on that for next year. She also mentioned to us that there are some free teacher wellness programs available to help the mental health concerns of our teachers. We also heard from Joanna from the URI SNAP Ed program. Once again, we're lucky that URI SNAP Ed works here with the Woonsocket schools. And this year, we're having the Students Take Charge project at Portia Citizens this year. They have started already conducting surveys this month of December. And beginning in January, they will start to be deciding and working on various recipes. So once again, we had some great food today. And in a couple of months, you can look forward to some more great food from the students of Citizens, Portia and Citizens. We also had an explanation from Gigi DeBello about a beloved Woonsocket project. and the funds that we are receiving from the Rhode Island Foundation. And they are beginning their work, or they've already began their work in November. They will be meeting every month from November to June to plan for some of their initiatives for next year. So we heard about that. And also the Woonsocket Prevention Coalition talked to us about a program that they are offering to the athletes of Woonsocket. It's a substance-free athletes program, and I believe our athletic director and our coaches are familiar with this program. And finally, they offered another explanation of a program that they run every Tuesday after school at the Woonsocket Prevention Coalition office, and that's called the SWAG program. So they are looking for students that will become involved in this year's group of the SWAG program. As we finally, well, not finally, but we also, Rosemary O'Brien from the Neighborhood Health Plan also presented us with some very important information that right now there is a need for families to be aware of their Medicaid redetermination because with COVID and the COVID mandates ending, all right, many families need to reapply for their Medicare programs. Now, most of these families have already received letters in the mail. They're being made aware of it that way. But as we know, in our city of Woonsocket and other cities, there's a lot of transient students, and their addresses are not available anymore to the state programs. So those people are being encouraged to find ways. And she presented us with some great opportunities that we have passed on to the teachers and the administrators and obviously the students in Woonsocket. And finally, Dr. McGee presented us with a small high school survey dealing with teen dating violence. And I think later on that'll be presented into the schools and more information will be coming with that. We adjourned our meeting at 5:17. And our next meeting will be January 29th, 2024. Mr. Chairman, that is my health and wellness.
Thank you, Vice Chair Burke. But any questions for him? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the health and wellness update. Do we have a second?
Second?
Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I was hoping we would get Chef Paul to come in to thank him.
Oh,
I think he went out that way.
oh, did he? Is he? He might be coming through.
I think he's putting stuff
Right,
back in.
right. Next, we'll go into the technology update, policy update.
Policy.
And I will ask Mrs. Kepiscus or Vice Chair Burke to give us that report.
I just did mine. I'm all set. Your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Policy Subcommittee met on November 28th, 2023 at 4 p.m. After approving the minutes of our prior meeting, we reviewed a graduation policy. Per our attorney, the language is amended to reflect Dr. Holt's information that some of the graduation requirements reflected in the policy as drafted only begin with the class of 2028. As for a so-called drop-dead date, by which credits must be earned in order to earn a diploma and participate in graduation in June. No district in the state has such drop-dead date. Exeter West Greenwich has a whole process for students who will not graduate as to the date grades are due for the last quarter of for seniors, meeting with family administration, teachers in question present. Sarah does not recommend this process as it is cumbersome, and we already have an appeals process in the drafted policy. Our policy requires that credits be completed simply, quote, before graduation, unquote, which has been interpreted as certified by the principal or his or her designee at the end of the grading period for seniors for the fourth quarter. No additional changes were proposed. With that, the policy was approved by the subcommittee to be sent forward to the full school committee with no objections. That will appear on our next agenda. Next, we went to the medication administration policy. This previously approved policy was up for discussion as to whether or not there should be the addition of some existing language with regard to the government and management of staff medication as opposed to student medication which was addressed in the current policy. This arose out of an incident where a student picked up a pill found in the school lobby at dismissal and was stopped from putting it in their mouth by mom. As it turned out, it was only an over-the-counter allergy pill. No other districts have a medication storage administration policy for staff per Caroline's survey. Legal counsel has concerns about adding such provisions in our policy. One relates to the ADA and accommodations. They're also concerned it will result in allegations of differential treatment of staff based on disabilities. They simply do not think that there is any need for such a policy. Sarah recommended instead that we consider making instruction about safe storage and taking of medication by staff part of our legal professional development, as well as part of an employee manual that is hopefully to be developed, essentially making it a protocol as opposed to a policy. Sarah also recommended an email from Dr. McGee putting staff on notice and reminding them of the best practice to keep medications locked and secured at all times, as they do with other personal items such as wallets. No action was taken as the policy remains unaltered at this time, and it will be removed from future agendas. We then moved on to the non-union benefits policy.
Excuse me, Mrs. Kepiscus, 1 second. I don't mean to interrupt. Chef Paul, we want to thank you for all the great food that you served to us tonight. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Sorry for that.
With regard to the non-union benefits policy, Sarah noted a few changes had been made and were
Hold on.
reflected in the red-lined copy, and those are essentially to make it clear
We can't hear
that the
her.
policy itself is just a policy and not an employment
We
contract.
cannot hear ourselves think, so if we could keep the volume down, thank you.
For
Thank you
this
very
reason,
much.
For this reason, all references to the respective collective bargaining agreements were removed, as all plans are now the same at this point. The longevity language in section 10 of the policy has been updated to reflect the circumstances, and is retroactive to July 1, 2023. Appendix A1 will remain as part of the policy. Appendix A2 will be removed and is addressed only one staff member who has since retired. This policy was approved to move forward to the full school committee at their next scheduled meeting, but it is not on tonight's agenda. It will be on the agenda for our first meeting in January. We next moved on to the rescission of the P6 series in our prior policy manual. Per Sarah, all the language is either illegal or superseded by language incorporated in our collective bargaining agreements. As a result, the recommendation to rescind was put forward and was to be put forward to the full school committee and will be on our next scheduled agenda. Policies for future meetings to be discussed are student activity account policy, method/acceptance of payments other than cash policy. Those will replace the two policies that came off, as our practice is to limit our policy subcommittee meetings to 3 policies per meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 16th, 2024 at 4 p.m. at Hamlet Middle School, room 124. The meeting adjourned at 5:04 p.m. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mrs. Kepiscus. Any questions for her? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the policy update. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Next, we'll go to the technology update, and I guess I turn it over to you, Mrs. Costa.
Yes, so the technology subcommittee met on November, God bless you, November 27th. And at that meeting, we talked about replacing all staff Chromebooks with Mac books. Possibly may have a grant to do so. They will be priced out for the next meeting. Al, please correct me if I'm wrong. If I do anything wrong on this, this is the first time I'm presenting out. So, these MacBooks are going to be compatible with what we do use now and can last for up to 8 years. Staff will be able to take them home. However, if they are to be damaged in any way, the staff will be responsible for the replacement. As far as student devices go, those are still pretty new. Possibly may look to replace the elementary school Chromebooks with Chromebooks. Is that right? Still going to use Chromebooks? Yep, with Chromebooks. And in order for students to get a new one, they will have to give us their old one back in order to get a new one. Annually reported that teachers need to ask permission for websites to either be blocked or unblocked. And so far this year, all requests have been accepted. Update on the telephone system repairs. We are actually waiting on a quote for replacement on all telephone devices in the school systems. I believe from elementary schools through high school. We should have the quote and replacements done by spring/new school year. Update on cybersecurity upgrades, password protection security, measure security, the security measures. Sorry, hold on. We did upgrades to the password protection. And I put, thanks, Jeff, because that was what we said in the meeting. And the update on data reporting to RIDE, I kind of missed the notes on that, so I don't know if you have anything for that.
So we are continually updating our data with RIDE on a daily basis.
Okay. And then distribution of walkie-talkies, we need to get an FCC license, so it's more like having radios, and they work as far away as North Smithfield as this was tested. And no, you cannot play the actual radio on these. These should be distributed by the end of the week, ending 12/1/23. We also talked about the outdated signage at the middle school. That's approximately 12 years old, and Harris, that's about 8, both in which don't work anymore. Both of these signs alone are on the upwards of 80,000 apiece to have replaced, which is necessary as they cannot be fixed. I mentioned to see if we could fix, if maybe, I mentioned to Al to see if maybe we could have the WATC, if maybe they would be able to replace them, or something of signage maybe they could come up with. And then as far as work orders in the system, we had 32 work orders, and I think, what was it, 32 work orders were from something different, but we have 51 in total. And hope to have these all fixed, and I forgot what date you had said you wanted to have them fixed by. Within a month. Okay, and that's as much as I have. Al, if I'm missing anything, or Mr. Burke, if I'm missing anything.
No, that reflected the meeting. Thank you.
Perfect.
Any questions for Mrs. Costa?
And
Bless you, Bill.
we have not picked a meeting date for the next meeting yet, but we will as it's needed.
Yes.
Any,
So we've got to get an FCC license for the radios?
We did obtain an FCC license for the initial count we needed to. And yes, we're using that currently, and the radios were delivered for the first week of December. And this evening, thank you, you approved additional radios that'll be coming in the next, hopefully, few months.
Thank you.
anyone else? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the technology update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll go to the curriculum update. I'll begin. Dr. Holt, you'll finish. And we will not have as detailed a report as we normally have, because our chairman was not there. So, but we'll try to cover it and do it justice. So we met on December 5th at 3 o'clock at Hamlet. And the focus of this entire meeting was the RICAS scores, to look at what happened and what the learning and teaching initiatives are to make improvements, as well as where the focus of the district is with regards to our students. I'll take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Bourget. That's right. We only had one agenda item on this month's curriculum subcommittee meeting. We were looking at our RICAS data, and the highlights for our RICAS data for ELA, which stands for English Language Arts. We had 11.1% of our students meet or exceed proficiency for ELA. This was down 3% from 2019. So before COVID, it's down 3% from 2019. The governor has established what he's calling his 2030 goals, and they've mapped out until 2026 in our strategic plan. And by that, our goal for ELA would be to increase to 19% holistically for the district. This test is given in grades 3 through 8. One interesting piece of information or data that we did explore at great length was attendance attached to students' performance. And when we looked at this for students who had less than 10%, who missed less than 10% or were in school 90%, their proficiency rates, or meet and exceed, was 29.2. So significantly higher than where we're even projected to go as our goal for 2026. So that was ELA. Then we talked about math. In math, we had 10% of our students meet and exceed. This was down 1.9% from 2019. Again, the governor's goals for 2026 brings us to 18%. And if we look at our attendance for students who did not miss more than 10% of the school year, they had a 28.5% proficiency rate. So we said this was the data, this is our now what. Then we talked about this was the so what. Then we talked about our now what, where are we going and what are we doing? So we looked at some of the teaching and learning initiatives that are happening in the district. As you're well aware, we've talked a lot about greenlit curriculum, and we have implemented high quality curriculum for ELA and math, K through 12. This past year, we implemented ELA and math in the secondary. We have implemented with great success the science of reading. It was legislation that came down for us, and Woonsocket, under Sue DeRizzo's lead, has taken the lead in the state and have over 315 educators who are trained in the science of reading. And we have also trained a trainer from the company that we were originally purchasing the training from. So now we're able to be self-sufficient moving forward. And lastly, we have grounded all of our implementation of all of our new curricular initiatives within scientifically proven best practices. Those include our discourse, our academic discourse. It's discussion of academic vocabulary and whatnot through academic teaming. The science of reading that we talked about earlier, and also something called SciUp, which is an ESL strategy that Ms. Aguia has been promoting in all of our schools and presenting for professional development. One of the things, a shining moment for us, we discussed some of the data points when you look at our classrooms that implemented our academic teaming through the use of collaboration with an innovation specialist. And you see before you the graph that demonstrates, this graph was presented to the curriculum subcommittee, and it demonstrates how classroom students performed on the RICAS test in ELA and math when the teacher was working alongside an innovation specialist, when the teacher allowed a specialist to come in and model, and then the last one is when an innovation specialist was not working alongside the classroom. For ELA, we have 21% proficient or meet or exceed proficiency for those that collaborated with our specialist. And these numbers include all students, students with IEPs, students who have been identified as multilingual learners. All students are included. The next bracket for ELA, those who allowed for modeling was 13%. And then the classrooms that did not collaborate with this particular cohort, they had a 0% proficiency rate. When we looked at math, it was 22.2, 4.3, and 4.5. The second graph that you see in front of you looks at partner classrooms in a school. So with a innovation partner working alongside, and then for the classroom adjacent that did not have the innovation specialist working with them. And you can see for ELA, the numbers, the percentage of students who are proficient is much higher than those students in the classrooms that were not implementing and having academic discourse, where they talk and spend time thinking critically about the content that they've been presented. Our meeting went till 4:25, so it wasn't too bad. And considering it was one agenda item, it actually did take us a bit of time to go through. And we have scheduled our next curriculum subcommittee meeting for January 30th, 2024 in room 124 at Hamlet Middle School. That concludes my summary. I don't know if I missed anything, Chairman Bourget, but.
Dr. Holt, I'd just like a couple of things. When you talked about the percentage of students that exceeded, but don't we have also fairly decent numbers of students who are almost proficient? Aren't they in the 40%?
That's correct. We did have significant.
For English?
Yep, we did have significant numbers, and the system is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and we did have a significant number of students, about 40% in some
Almost
spaces.
there, and those are significant numbers.
Correct.
The other thing that the committee was presented with actual problems, English and math problems. Now, when I've taken these tests forever, and they're always multiple choice, and you can do your scratch work on the side. Many of the problems in the RICAS score, in the RICAS test, requires the student to really be able to handle the computer and to do the actual work within certain boxes within the question. And I swear to God, I don't know if I could pass these tests at the 3rd grade. So as Mr. Rizzo really emphasizes, the most important thing is to get the reading proficiency of our young students so that by the time they hit the 3rd grade, they can read. Because if you can't read, how in the world are you going to be able to first read the questions
Right.
and then apply yourself to do the problems? And this is both math and English. And I found that that was a whole confusing tale. So if you're stuck on a problem, you're never going to finish. And it's going to be very frustrating for our students. And all the factors we talk about, especially attendance, et cetera, that is going to continue to have a negative impact. So, I really applaud our education department for focusing the committee on the need to read proficiently by the time they reach the 3rd grade. So I was really impressed with the presentation. I thought that was great.
Thank you, Chairman Bourget. If I could add to one of the things that we had talked about, I forgot about the fact that we talked about the sample questions. And one of the things that we also discussed is how our new curriculum is in alignment with those questions, and the online platforms for our new curricula mimic the way the questions are presented to students in the RICAS.
Just taking statewide tests or national tests, it's all about knowing how to take the test and being comfortable with the format. That's 90% of the test. Everything
And also
else will
the
fall into place.
fine motor with having to navigate your mouse and whatnot. So that's something, thanks to Al's department getting all of our students Chromebooks, our students now have an advantage where they are able to manipulate a Chromebook right from the get-go, starting in kindergarten.
Any other comments?
I do.
Ms. LeClaire?
Relative to your graphs you have here. Now, you have classes with a partner and without a partner and
Correct.
with a specialist. Is this like a test program, or is it you just not enough bodies?
So this was a grant-funded program, and we were able to hire, we originally had thought we would be able to hire 8 staff members to become innovation specialists. We are currently right now at 6. So our capacity to have them in every classroom, we just wouldn't be able to be in every classroom, but we know the impact that having 2 teachers in the classroom focused on, and their innovation specialists aren't there all day, every day. They come in and they work alongside the classroom teacher for a period of time. But we know that learning is a social skill, and when you can engage in conversation around the learning that you're doing, it increases your memory of what you just learned. So
So there was only 6 classrooms.
no, they are in many classrooms. We have 6.
Classrooms for
Yes, we have 6. I could get you impact data for our next meeting. As a matter of fact, all of our innovation specialists have been invited to come to the curriculum meeting in January. The focus for that meeting is reviewing the process of academic teaming.
So you said this was grant funded, so at some point this may end?
Right now, it's within a grant.
All right. Go ahead.
It's with an ESSER 3.
Yeah.
Which ends June 30th.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chair Burke?
I guess my question is, we have a curriculum now geared towards the RICAS. Let's hope that the RICAS stays consistent. And as we know, with RIDE over the years, they keep changing the game.
Yeah.
They move the goalposts. I guess that's the metaphor. So let's hope that this stays for a while. That'll be to our advantage.
I couldn't agree more. One of the things that we know about ed reform in Massachusetts, when they transitioned to in 1993 to their new standards, they've stuck with their standards since 1993. Even when the rest of the country went for Common Core state standards, Massachusetts reviewed the Common Core state standard and mapped it to their standards and confirmed things that were in alignment, and then augmented. The government allowed for a 15% augmentation or addition, and Massachusetts did that.
Hope we stay the same.
Yeah, please. I hope
Well
so.
said, Vice Chair Burke.
Yes, I agree.
Anyone else? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the curriculum update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. LeClaire. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll go to the Facility Safety and Security Subcommittee. Mr. Notoriani, please.
Thank you, Chairman Bourget. The Facility Safety and Security Subcommittee met on Tuesday, December 5th at 5 p.m. here at Hamlet Middle School. On the agenda, we discussed safety and security, safety and security discussion centered around a security officer position, which has been posted as a potential opening. We also discussed the districts, working with Mr. Perrier and Dr. McGee, our HVAC application with the Rhode Island Office of Energy to replace and upgrade the HVAC controls at Woonsocket High School, the Career Tech Center, Pothier Elementary School, and Harris Elementary School, similar to the project that we're completing tomorrow, as a matter of fact, here and at Villanova. And we also submitted applications for replacement of hot water tanks at both middle schools as well. So that was a discussion about those applications. In addition to that, we talked about at the McPhee Administration Building, we currently have a truck assigned to the building for the mail run and deliveries and whatnot, and we are at a deficit of 1 to 2 trucks at the facilities department over at Bird and Shop. So we talked about buying a SUV type vehicle for the McPhee maintenance person and transferring the truck over to facilities, because the cost of trucks, some of the newer trucks are upward of $80,000 versus the Jeep, which would be around $40,000. So it would be a savings, or it'd be a lesser cost, not necessarily a savings, but a lesser cost. So if we follow that pathway versus buying a new truck for facilities. And then I believe we did not set an exact meeting date, but we would call one for the month of January. That concludes my report, Chairman.
Any questions from Mr. Notoriani? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the facility safety and security update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa and Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next item, the building committee was canceled due to inclement weather, power outages, and the like. Next, we'll go into conferences and discussions. I'll ask Mr. Perrier to give us his financial update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In front of the school committee this evening is the October 2023 fiscal update. Currently, the school department is projecting a little over $190,000 surplus as of June 30th, 2024. Some of the financial highlights on the revenue side: when the state budget was finalized in June, state aid for FY24 was increased over $961,000 over what was originally anticipated in June. So we made the appropriate adjustment in the fiscals. Medicaid reimbursement per this projection is targeted to be $330,000 under budget. This is an extremely conservative outlook and will be monitored as we progress through the year. At this time, we are on track to reach our total revenue number, which is a little north of $100 million for the end of June. On the expenditure side, all regular salaries are $305,000 under budget at this time. And when netted with the employee turnover allowance of $1.240 million, this will put overall salaries $935,000 over budget. As the year has just begun, and we are kind of getting into it a little bit, we can expect to continue to see savings on the salary expense line due to unfilled positions. And this will bring us closer to a balanced salary budget as we progress through the year. Currently, the substitute salary line is $118,000 under budget at this time. Medical expenses are currently $620,000 over budget. Again, this is still a very extreme early projection, so it's difficult to say at this point because we still have over 6 months left in the year. But we'll keep an eye on it and continue to track it as it goes forward. The district has begun to contract with outside services to bring additional support staff to the district. And in particular, many CNAs have been hired to assist in the classroom. We are still continuing to try and hire vacant positions as well. The majority of the CNA expenses have been moved to ESSER 3 at this time. Additional funds have been allocated to transportation to cover higher than expected ride transportation billings, and we'll continue to monitor these expenses going forward. We also added a little bit of money in for potentially adding 2 new buses from Durham, as it was discussed at the facilities subcommittee meeting. At this time, property and equipment purchases have been allowed to go to the general fund. Most of the projects the district will be getting between 92 to 100% reimbursement for. That reimbursement will then be used to continue to build our capital fund for our 5-year capital plan and whatever way we decide to continue with that. And as we progress through the year, if needed, we can pull expense off the general fund if other priorities arise and we choose to move in a different direction. At this time, I'll answer any questions the school committee may have.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Perrier? I'll make a motion, Dr. McGee will, no, I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the financial update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, I'll ask Ms. Morel to give us a special education update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Below you have the special education enrollment snapshot as of December 14th, 2023. And that is the data points listed in our Skyward system. Right now, there's a total number of 1,417 students receiving special education services within our buildings from pre-K to grade 12. This represents 26.2% of our total enrollment population, which is approximately 5,403 students. However, we do have students that are in our TransPro program. Though it's in our building, we do have it as like a coded as a out of district type of program because we're transitioning the students into adulthood. There's 23 students in that program. We also have 115 students in our out of district placements, which 107 of them have IEPs. That number has drastically have gone down over the last few years. When I first started in the position, we had about 170 students out of district. That number has decreased for a number of reasons: students graduating, students moving out of the district, as well as 3 out of district placements last year did close. We also have 163 students in private schools and or pre-K programs with IEPs that we service. So when we total up all of the students within our programs in our schools, as well as the students that are not in our schools that we have to provide services for, it brings our special ed percentage to 30%. I know that Mr. Perrier had talked about added increases for the PCAs. And when we talked about the increase of TAs, a lot of our students that we're supporting in our schools need a lot more support due to a lot of the out-of-district programs not having a lot of space. We did have the number of TAs down, and then the need for TAs have risen for the the needs of the students that we're trying to support in the classroom. So we have been hiring TAs throughout, but we've needed to increase that number. Do you have any questions?
Any questions, comments? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file a special education update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Morel. Good report. Next, we'll go into new business, and I'll make a motion to discuss and approve on the Woonsocket High School Auditorium Architect contract. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc and Mrs. Costa. I'll turn it over to Dr. McGee and Mr. Perrier.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I asked the school committee table this item. We're not prepared to talk about it this evening. We're still working through a few things to finalize the contract.
Make a motion to table.
Motion to table by Mr. Leclerc,
Second.
second by Vice Chair Burke. Any discussion? Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve on the Sprout and STEM Clinical Mentorship Program / Memorandum of Agreement. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa and Vice Chair Burke. Dr. McGee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the committee has on the agenda, one of the items, which is the discussion approval on Sprout STEM, a clinical mentorship program through Brown University. You have a packet that contains a lot of information regarding this request. We also have Victor Hunt from Brown University, who is here this evening, who is here to answer any questions that the committee may have. I'm going to start and just sort of give an overview of this opportunity. This is an opportunity for students at Woonsocket High School and Woonsocket Area Career and Technical Center. The clinical mentorship program for WED would be for students who are interested in pursuing careers in medicine, which would provide them an opportunity for them to participate in clinical experiences and to gain the perspective of physicians. The CMP is led by medical students from the Warren Alpert Medical School at Brown University, and also by resident physicians affiliated with or employed by Landmark
Medical Center and Acute Care Community Hospital here in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. So this is an opportunity. It's a study as well, and Victor can explain the details of that, but this is an opportunity for our Woonsocket High and Woonsocket Area Career and Technical Center students to have an opportunity to be mentored by Brown University medical students as well as physicians at Landmark Medical Center. Just give me 1 second here. So there are a variety, there are a few components to this opportunity for our students. It would involve hourly 1 hour monthly sessions for our students with our students. It would provide them lectures and roundtable discussions on topics in the medical sciences, specifically lectures on bioethics, medical imaging, embryogenesis, enzyme kinetics, and various organ systems. So it would provide them those opportunities to have those monthly sessions with medical students from Brown University. It would be, again, provided to our students here in the Woonsocket Education Department on site. The second component would be involving our students and having them being paired with a clinical mentor during monthly 2-hour shadowing sessions, which would introduce medical professionalism, patient interviewing, and physical examination. The shadowing program would provide an immersive learning environment where students can observe medical professionals in action and gain insights into daily routines of physicians. I'm going to turn the mic over to Victor to explain in a little greater detail. That's sort of an overview of this opportunity for our students. And I see this as an opportunity. The cost to the district for the students who would be participating in this study would be $7,300. So I'm going to turn it over to Victor if you'd like to explain any more that I might have missed.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I think it was so eloquently stated by your student representative how a modern 21st century education really demands the integration of crosstalk with higher ed. And that was demonstrated by this recent field trip or tour of Bryant University. So I'm happy to hear that that's ongoing, and it's exciting to think that this clinical mentorship program might be a new iteration of that concept and construct. So I can just briefly talk about Sprout and STEM, and then more specifically on the clinical mentorship program. But Sprout and STEM is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2019 in response to the Johns Hopkins report in Providence, the review of the Providence Public School District. And it was really based on the idea that there are so many universities in Providence, they're directly adjacent to schools of secondary ed. Why not try to integrate the resources of higher ed and bring them closer to secondary students? And so we've done that. We've worked with a handful of schools in Providence, including Classical, the Met, Nathaniel Green Middle School. We actually provided Woonsocket High School with online tutoring during the pandemic via Zoom, non-contractually, but we were providing support at the time. And so really, we're really trying to dive, especially as my education has delved into into medicine. I've really tried to focus more on providing students in this space, which is ostensibly very tough to enter. And knowing that now as someone who is studying medicine, it's intimidating, it's confusing, disorienting. And I can say that even as a former pre-medical student at the undergraduate level who is trying to navigate this space. And so the program itself, it's really just trying to showcase the beauty and sophistication of medicine by teaching students more advanced topics in medicine. Dr. McGee mentioned a few of the topics we're looking to lecture on. And you might be wondering, are these topics too advanced for high school students? I would say they border on challenging, and it's really just to showcase another level, maybe even foreshadow college level curriculum for your students. And that's really the intention there. So those lectures will be led by Brown University medical students. And then the second half of this, the second side of this coin is in-person clinical shadowing at Landmark Medical Center through the guidance of physician residents in the internal medicine residency program there. And so I've been in contact with the program director of the residency program, and there are over a dozen residents who are interested in supplying themselves as mentors for the program. And in that capacity, students would be shadowing at the hospital for 2 hours each month, learning about different conversational tactics, getting to interact with patients passively. They wouldn't be providing any medical care per se, but just kind of understanding the space and hopefully becoming more motivated to explore medicine in the future.
Does anybody have questions, comments?
Mr.
Vice
Chairman,
Chair-
no, I
Vice
sort
Chair
of agree with what Mr. Hunt said about our student representative Matthew's presentation tonight, that he showed the importance of a field trip to a university and to learn beyond the high school. I think this program offers that similarly, that again, our students are able to go beyond the high school and connect to a university. You know, here we have a P-TECH program already at work in our district for the high school especially, and those students are mentored as well by individuals from CBS. And here we can have another different type of mentoring program for students who are interested in the medical field. You know, Dr. Holt talked a little bit about Massachusetts and the scores there. But I can also say that in Massachusetts, many of the schools partnership with the many universities that exist in Massachusetts. I know when I taught at Bridgewater Raynham, you know, we sort of partnered a great deal with Bridgewater State. All right. And I think I personally think this is a great opportunity for us to begin a partnership with one of the universities in Rhode Island. We don't have a lot of them, so this would be a good attempt. So I think we need to try this. I think that for the sake of our students, because if we look at our agenda tonight, a lot of things are not directly about students. And this is one of the things that is definitely about students. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Vice Chair Burke. Anyone else? Mr. Leclerc?
No, I'm good.
I think it's a great opportunity as well. I don't know where this is going to lead, but I think getting our kids outside of the school into a medical school or into Landmark, I think, and being exposed to medicine, I think is a great opportunity for some of the students that are just going to latch on to that and may develop a career.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Kepiscus.
I have one question. I don't know if it's correctly directed to Mr. Hunt or to Caroline. Do we have concerns about liability of our students going out into this hospital environment? What is our responsibility as a district? If they're going into hospitals, potential exposure, I'm just thinking of a variety of things.
I can answer that if it's easier. But so I've been in meetings with Sarah Rapport, the WED's, I don't know what her title would be, primary attorney. But we've had meetings and we've received an acknowledgement from Landmark's Human Resources Department, their chair, Cheryl Bryan, and they've sent us a letterhead acknowledging that students in the capacity of as a volunteer in the hospital, they are covered and protected under the hospital's liability insurance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Vice
Just
Chair
a
Burke.
little follow-up here.
Sure.
A little bit of an irony here. As we know, Mr. Hunt is a graduate of Woonsocket High School. And here he is pursuing a career in medicine. And interestingly, you know, offering now this possible path to our students today. So,
I think it's an excellent opportunity. I think we should go for it. Any other comments? Dr. McGee, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
We got a program.
Great. Excited, very excited. We're hoping to start the program in January. I don't know if the principal of Woonsocket High School is here. He's
Mr. Ernest is not here
Mr.
right
Ernest
now.
is not here. Okay. I've been in contact with the principal of the Career and Technical Center. And I just, as one final comment, I'll just say we are looking to also conduct an assessment of students' interest in medicine before and after the program. We've submitted an application to Brown's Institutional Review Board. It was waived. It was not deemed human subject research. We do have parental consent and student assent forms for them to fill out if they are interested in participating in the study at the beginning of the program. And so everything, I cross my T's, dot my I's, and I just wanted to make everyone aware that this is also going to involve some data collection and interpretation throughout the program. So, all right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the memorandum of understanding between WED and consultant Otisha Chaplin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Costa. I wasn't sure if you were. Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. McGee?
Thank you.
Someone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Luigi, would you mind, because I'll lead off, and then I'm going to, as I just did with Victor, I'm going to hand it off to you to take it home. So this opportunity that comes before the school committee is the approval of an MOU between the WED and Otisha Chaplin. This is in regard to the beloved Woonsocket grant that we received from the Rhode Island Foundation. The committee is aware at, I think it was the last meeting, where we had that discussion about what the beloved Woonsocket community is and what the what the product will be ultimately. Here this evening, we're asking the committee to approve Ms. Chaplin as being a consultant to assist us in this beloved Woonsocket project. As you can see in the service agreement, it lists the services that she would provide the beloved Woonsocket work group, which meets monthly. In addition to meeting monthly, there will be also times where she will meet with folks from the community and from this work group above and beyond just those monthly meetings. But it would include planning and facilitation, the debrief of the monthly beloved Woonsocket work group meetings, and related meetings, which could include shared values, mission, vision for nonviolent Woonsocket, community asset mapping, landscape analysis. Would be also included data collection, community feedback sessions. So she would be coordinating many of these events and these activities, and then would be overseeing the development of the final plan for the presentation of the beloved Woonsocket work. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Gigi to provide a little bit more detail, as Gigi is really the leader of the beloved Woonsocket grant. So, Gigi.
Thank you. Also, thank you for feeding both of us tonight. We didn't expect that. It was a lovely treat. So Otisha is with us tonight behind me, so I wanted to introduce her. I think you've gotten her resume as well. If not, I'll make sure that you do. You did get it. Thank you, Kim. I think that Mr. Burke also mentioned that I talked a little bit about the grant at the Wellness Committee meeting. It's a grant with 4 outcomes, and 3 of them are based within the school department. This 4th outcome has to do with creating the group Beloved Woonsocket Work Group, working within the city with stakeholders, including folks from the mayor's office, city council. We also have now a number of folks from the city, as well as the universities. Brown University Hassenfeld Institute is signed on. Kids Count. There are a number of folks who are very invested in the plan that we'll be putting together, which is in 3 different buckets around training, outreach, and communication. The hope is that we work very intensely for the next 6 months. We've already started in November, but we'll start in earnest in January to create a plan And then the Rhode Island Foundation will partner with us to look at the plan and to bring funders to the table to help us actually execute that mission. This work has only been funded for 1 year through the Rhode Island Foundation, and we, as the school department, are serving as the convener, but only as the convener. So Beloved Woonsocket doesn't really exist beyond this right now. And it's important for me as one of the conveners to have a partner in this work that comes from the community. Otisha is a trusted member of the community and is doing a number of different pieces of work for folks in the community. She also sits on the, I knew I was going to forget, what's the team at the high school? CSIP. The CSIP team at the high school has been involved in interviews for the vice principal position. She's definitely a trusted member within our school department, but also in the community. So the MOU is, as Dr. McGee described, for her to support this work as a consultant, and to be my partner in producing a plan at the end of the 6 months from now until June. Happy to take questions.
Any questions, comments? Dr. McGee?
Chairman, I'm
Vice
sorry.
Chair Burke?
Just a comment and a question. First of all, a great irony tonight that we're being presented with someone, Miss Chaplin is a Woonsocket graduate.
She is.
So once again, it's good that graduates are coming back here. But my question now is just curious about the funding. Her position is funded by the Rhode Island Foundation grant? Or is
Yeah,
it
the Rhode
funded
Island
by-
Foundation granted us $100,000.
Right.
And so this is a tenth of that.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Thank you, G.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Happy New Year.
You too.
Happy New Year.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve to add additional buses due to the reorganization of bus routes for the remainder of this school year for Durham Transportation. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Leclerc and Mrs. Costa. Dr. McGee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am going to turn the mic over to Mr. Notariani, who will explain the request for the additional buses.
So, thank you, Dr. McGee. So the additional buses are the district's effort. The additional buses are the district's effort to mitigate the tardiness for the arrival and dismissal pickups of the bus system. So as I'm sure the committee's aware, over the years, we've had many different concerns with Durham School Services. We've made a concerted effort to work with them. This year, we are being very stringent and very conservative about our waivers in terms of students that don't qualify under the district's policy. But even with all of those efforts, we're still seeing buses arrive late in the afternoon in terms of picking up students. And while this effort is to have 2 additional buses, this is going to mitigate some of the tardiness. So, for example, instead of the buses being 20 minutes late, they'll be much closer to the pickup time. But as I'm sure the members of the facility subcommittee recall, and we did report out, I think it was our last meeting, this will not solve all of the problems, because ultimately, even if we were to, as Durham explained, even if we were to hire 5 or add 5 more buses between the traffic, for example, at Cass Avenue and congestion around the middle schools and some of the elementary schools, there is no easier fix. So even if we were to get 5 more buses, we would still have some late arrivals. So I'll make sure it's clear. But this should mitigate as best we can until we can have a permanent solution to the late buses.
The mitigation, is it for specific schools where we've seen more issues?
It
That's
should be
why we're putting those 2 buses in particular.
the new buses being added across the district. So busing is very much like a house of cards. If you take out one card, it has ramifications across the whole design. The same thing occurs with the busing, as much as we try and change certain things here or there. So we've added additional busing, which will be appropriate at all levels, and we're hoping that it'll have a significant impact, particularly at Globe Park and at Savoy and at the high school. But the idea is to have an impact at all levels in terms of how late the buses arrive to pick up students. Some routes run on time or fairly on time all the time, and some do not.
So obviously, these are targeting the tardiness, the late buses, or the
That
routes
is-
that causes them arriving late.
That is what Durham
But-
is hoping for with this proposal.
Okay.
But again, I cannot, I want to make sure it's very clear to the committee, what you're voting on this evening does not mean it's going to solve the problem. We still will have buses that are late. The only way this problem will be resolved is if we sit down and look at, in the future, not the immediate future, but in the future, about looking at the start and end times of schools. Cass Avenue, as I'm sure you're aware, being residents, is deeply congested, particularly around 2:15 to about 2:30 every day because of the arrival and dismissal.
But Shipper, did you
I
have a
just had a
comment?
quick question. Are we talking about the morning routes or the dismissal at the end of the day? That it's, the buses are getting to the schools late to dismiss the kids?
Both the morning and the afternoon, because in the morning buses arrive. So I can say, just to throw an example, on a daily, the daily occurrence at Harris Elementary School, students arrive late. They do not arrive on time. There's one or two buses in particular that arrive probably 15, 20 minutes late. And that's even with us not providing any waivers. And it's important to understand the entire conversation. Waivers are students that don't qualify for busing under the mileage limitation. So if you ever receive any concerns, and rightly so from parents, understand that as we add those waivers on, it slows down the buses in the morning. Particularly you hear at Savoy, I know that's always been a concern we've discussed. Savoy is late. They still probably be a little late, but they should be less late than what they are now. Globe is the worst of all the late arrivals because it's at the tail end of the routes after all the buses have gone through the secondary level and the elementary level.
Anyone else?
Nope.
Dr. McGee?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve on the new position of a safety and security officer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Leclerc. Dr. McGee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I come to the committee this evening with a request of a full-time school security officer at Woonsocket High School. As the committee is aware, and we've had these conversations for some time, for many years, but there have been issues, specific to Woonsocket High School where we don't have enough hall monitors. And in the past, we've had hall monitors at the high school. However, they've proven to be rather ineffective for a variety of reasons. The hall monitors, their job, their roles and responsibilities have been to, walk the halls, to check doors, in some instances to check the campus. Because as you're all aware, the high school is a large school with many exterior doors. And there are times, during the course of the day where students will either exit the school through one of the doors, going maybe to the park, going to different areas of Cass Park. There are situations where students will let other students into the building by opening doors and allowing them to re-enter the school. So this position would provide us with a consistent person, full-time person that is at the high school, could be used in other buildings if the need were there. However, primarily the responsibility of this person and the location would be at Woonsocket High School. You're also familiar with the students who are walking from the Career Center to the high school and the high school to the Career Center, especially during passing periods where there are a lot of students coming in and going out. This person could also be used during those passing periods to monitor that door as well. This person could also walk the grounds to ensure that there aren't students outside on the campus. Also, although Cass Park is not the property of the Woonsocket Education Department, we all know that there are many students, especially in the early morning and throughout the day, who are in Cass Park. This person could,
be out there monitoring that area as well to ensure safety on the campus. So I really believe that the high school needs this position. We have a resource officer currently at the high school who does, a very good job of obviously monitoring the building and, working with students and supporting the teachers and staff and administration. But this position would be in addition to having a resource officer, at the school regularly. And again, this person, the responsibility of this person would really just be to walk the halls, to monitor the doors, and to monitor the campus. So, after a year, we would obviously evaluate to see if we're having the success we hope we'll have. And how do we measure success? My measurement of success is that we would not have students exiting the building or holding, propping doors open for students to come into the building as well. So it would really just be an additional layer of safety and security at the high school.
Any thoughts, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to repeat what Dr. McGee just said, that I really think we should put a stipulation in that we will examine this position at the end of 1 year to see about its effectiveness, all right, for what you intend, and that we are not just duplicating, which I think positions already in the school, but so I think we should look again, like you said.
I don't think success can be measured 100%, that you're not going to have any incidents. That's almost impossible. There's no way one person is going to monitor every single student going through all the doors.
Right.
But if it's mitigated, I think that'd be a success. Mrs. Costa, you have something?
No, my Uber's outside, so I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Mr. Leclerc, did you have something?
Nope.
Dr. McGee, I guess, why don't we go for roll call?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Mrs. Kepiscus.
I did have a question, but
Yes, please, before we continue.
my question is, it kind of piggybacks on the duplication of effort. What is this person to do? I went to the high school. Let's assume we have a student doing the usual. I mean, granted, I graduated in 81 and the world was different, but they're sneaking out the door next to what used to be the wood shop to go have breakfast up the street, and then they come back. This person's monitoring the cameras. What are they doing? Are they calling someone on an intercom and saying so-and-so just left the building? Who's responsible to go chase after that student? Is it this person? Is it staff? Is it administration? What real purpose are they serving, other than, with all due respect, back when I was at the high school, the lady who used to sit at the desk and monitor the cameras and read Family Circle and Good Housekeeping? What are they doing?
So they would have a radio. They would be radioing the administration. They'd be radioing the main office if a student left the school and school grounds. They would be there as hopefully a deterrent so that students wouldn't be letting other students in. And I understand that there'd only be one of them and there are many doors. But there are specific doors at the high school that are used much more frequently by students who are exiting and trying to come back into the building. As Chairman Bourget said, it's not going to prevent it 100%, but I think that there are specific areas that are frequently used by students that they would be monitoring, that hopefully students would not be attempting to leave or come into the building during those areas. But they would have a radio, that person would have a radio, and they would be notifying the office of students who are leaving the building.
So essentially, the position is, in large part, deterrence.
It is, yes,
Okay, I still say yes.
it is.
Yes.
Mrs. Costa,
I agree. I say yes.
Ms. Leclerc.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
I think we've covered the vote. Nothing else on our agenda. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:10 PM. Do we have a second? Second by Mrs. Costa. All in favor signify by saying aye.